The following is a production of the Charleston County School District and the No Barriers Education Foundation.
When I was a little boy and somebody told me that my dreams would become true, I would wonder, is it me they're talking about?
Only a few people have realized their dreams of reaching the stars, but even fewer have sailed alone around the world. It is an unparalleled adventure, the longest race for any man or woman, 27,000 miles in a boat, alone. It requires strength of spirit. It is a test that demands everything a person has to give. It has cost some their lives. Neal Petersen is no stranger to adversity. He has faced and overcome hurdles most of us can't imagine.
Here I was as a boy in a plaster cast. I could not run and kick a ball. I could not be rough and tumble like other boys.
As a boy, Neal couldn't walk. Neal was born with only one hip joint.
I laid in my hospital bed. I couldn't move. And I felt very frustrated. I couldn't understand, why did I have to have this pain? Why did I have to have this discomfort? Why could I not have the life of that adventurer, the life of that sportsman? It looked almost impossible. How could I possibly sail a boat around the world when I can't even right now feed myself, when I can't even right now change my view?
He was never happy being in a hospital. It was very difficult for Neal to walk. He used crutches at first.
Neal's mother knows how far her son had come. His physical handicap was not his only challenge. Like other black South Africans, Neal's family was extremely poor.
We live in a run-down neighborhood. The people fortunately owned their own homes there. We lived on sort of the bare necessities, but we had lots of books in the home.
I remember one day opening up a book, and the story was about a man who had sailed around the world by himself. I looked at the work of Joshua Slocum, and I thought about the places he had seen, the people he had met, the storms he had overcome, the calms he had endured. And for me, that was a great adventure. And suddenly I started seeing myself. Could I be like Joshua Slocum? Could I actually sail a small boat around the globe? Could I survive those storms?
Neal could read about adventure, but could he do it? Who would give him the chance?
Neal found it extremely difficult. He asked several people whether he could crew on the boats, and the answer every time was no, no.
I remember going down onto the docks and asking people to take me sailing, and people sort of saying no. There's no room. I did not see the racial implications of being black, wanting to break into a sport which is predominantly a white man, a rich man's game. I remember the images of the police arriving at the schools with guns, and I saw a man running, and I saw the blood, and I felt sick because it could have been me.
But Neal didn't give up. He finally found someone who would help him with his dream.
I would move on to the next hull and knock and ask. And I'd look at the boat, and it wouldn't be a fancy, it'd be a miserable wreck of a boat, but hey, it had a mast and it sailed. And I would say, please, will you take me sailing? And I would get a yes. Somebody would actually say yes and give me that opportunity. Give me a chance to actually experience what I've been trying to get, to be on the water and to taste that salt. What a great feeling that was. When I actually got out on the water, and I actually got to drive the boat, and I got to trim the sails, and I got to feel that sense of speed. I had to find a way to come out there any time that I wanted to come out there. And so I knew I had to go and design my own boat. I had to build my own boat. But my friends laughed at me. My friend says, you'll never make it. You'll never do it. But I went to the library to read the books, and I knew that with the knowledge gained from those books, I could do it. I had to go and find a career, a job, a way of being able to earn a living that would support me having that boat, would give me the chance to build what I was designing. And so I scrubbed hulls, and I did what I had to do to save every penny that I could save.
He had the savings box in which everything went, and then from the savings box I would put it on a savings card. And he lived very, very frugally.
When I launched my boat, there she floated next to these big multi-million-dollar gin palaces, and she looked so small. And people looked at my boat and said, that thing will never cross an ocean. That heap of junk, he's never going to race that thing. I got so tired of hearing the criticism. I decided it's time to go. It's time to sail. It's time to live the dream. And so I sailed away. A month after I launched my boat, I put on provisions and I sailed away. But I didn't know how to navigate. So I did take a book with me, and I took my mathematical tables, a sextant. And don't ask me where I was the first 7 days. I was reading, trying to figure out, where am I? And then eventually I got the hang of it, and I figured out it was real simple. And so I ended up navigating my way to Europe.
Neal sets sail for England, alone, in a boat some mocked as a floating coffin. Then, disaster. Off the Azores, he hits a semi-submerged shipping container. With the help of the Irish Navy, he ends up in Ireland. It is here where Neal writes his autobiography, No Barriers, and launches his career as a motivational speaker.
I had a huge challenge, but you know, I also had options. And I made it my responsibility that this boat will not sink. And so, simple solution, not big deal, just got this big pump, and every hour I'd go to the front of the boat. And I'd pump, and I'd pump, and I'd pump, and I'd pump. I'd pump for 20 minutes every hour, pump that water out.
With the help of the Irish people, he successfully races in several international events leading up to the 1994-95 BOC Challenge, a solo race around the globe that starts in Charleston, South Carolina. His little red boat must be lengthened to 40 feet to meet race rules. After detailed preparations, Neal sails towards the race's first stop, his native land of South Africa. When he arrives, he receives a hero's welcome. A few days later, he leaves Cape Town for Australia, when suddenly his boat turns upside down in a violent storm. The boat's mast is destroyed, and his quest to circumnavigate the globe alone is dashed.
And then what really kept me going is the belief that I will sail again, I will race again, I will race this boat again, but I will eventually put together a bigger boat, a better campaign, properly funded, and not have to struggle as I struggled to get here. There's been years of struggling to get here.
In 1995, Neal returns to the United States to begin preparing for his next series of races. In 1997, he creates the No Barriers Education Foundation to work with young children. Taking many school children sailing, Neal shows them the challenges he will once again face when racing around the world.
Do you know which line of latitude divides the Earth between north and south?
The equator.
That's correct, the equator. And so right now what we're looking at is a chart of Bermuda Island. So if we were sailing from where we are and we're going to Bermuda Island, what direction do you think we're going to be sailing in?
East.
That's right. Bermuda is exactly 670 miles east of us. How do we know which way we're going?
A compass.
That's right. So we take our direction off a compass. And when we're up on deck, we'll actually look at what heading we are on and make sure that we're heading east and heading for Bermuda.
Neal presents students with problem-solving lessons covering everything from navigation to living at sea.
Let's prepare a bowl of soup and let's get it out of the compartment where we keep the soup, one of the storage places. Yeah?
This is where we keep the canned food.
Okay, let's go and cook some soup.
Salt water.
It's easy to get fresh water out of one of our jerry jugs or out of one of the bottles of water. But why are we not using fresh water?
because you have to carry it on board and it's a lot harder to get.
Well, guys, let's sample what Ellie and I prepared.
Finally, on September 27, 1998, Neal is off again. He is one of 16 skippers who have signed up for the race's 5th edition. No Barriers is the first yacht to cross the starting line. Using satellite communication, Neal keeps in touch with school children and the media.
I was the first boat to cross the start line in Charleston, and it was sort of really a lot of planning, a lot of preparation. Being the first boat to first pass scrutineering and have everything ready, and then of course sort of being in the right place at the right time when the cannon fired, and leading the fleet out of Charleston. So it's been a fun race, and technology has really made it a tremendous way. I've not been lonely. I've really been in contact with the rest of the world. I haven't missed a day in the office so far.
Early on, Neal deals with a few minor problems.
It's been a fun afternoon. I had hoisted the spinnaker a couple of hours ago. Tried to put the kite up on the bowsprit, but the pin that holds the bowsprit in place, it's just a pad eye into a fitting. Well, that's pulled out, and the bowsprit is going up into the sky. So the result, I'm not able to use the bowsprit at the moment, which is painful because I can't really do with it in the current wind direction we have, especially with the light sail. So tomorrow I have to try and figure out a solution to that problem.
Sailing the smallest boat in the fleet, he is determined to finish the race and beat some of his rivals.
So it's been quite an eventful few days. But what has really done me more proud than anything else with this boat is right now I'm ahead of two 50-footers. Two boats that have 10 foot more length overall than I have. We've got more waterline length than I have. But I've been able to claw my way ahead. I've been able to strategically position myself to actually catch them and overtake them. And I've done that in a 38-footer that's been lengthened to 40 foot. And so I feel very proud of what I've achieved and what this boat has been able to deliver so far. And just hope we can keep it up and keep moving forward.
Making his 4th equator crossing, Neal pays tribute to the sea gods.
Yea ho, Neptune, king of the ocean. You have allowed us into the continent of my birth, into the southern hemisphere now. So here I gather to give thee offering. I ask thee to look after me into the southern ocean, to return me back to this line so I honor thee again. Hail ye Neptune, the king of the sea. Accept the greatest gift I can give thee, the bone for my meat. So ye Neptune, take my gifts, take my offerings, and thank you. Thank you for letting me cross your magic line.
The rest of the leg is uneventful, a tribute to his extensive pre-race planning. He arrives in Cape Town nearly 2 weeks earlier than the previous race.
And we have 7 schools in America, in Charleston. And one of the schools asked me to present to the youth of South Africa a sweetgrass basket as a gesture of hope. And we are asking our two representatives to place an acorn in here. An acorn as a symbol, as a seed. If you have hope, and you water and you feed and you nurture that hope, it's going to grow into one big mighty oak. So, on behalf of the youth of South Africa, I ask the two of you to please accept this gift from Kanehoe Elementary School and the children of Charleston.
Yeah!
On the race's second leg, the fleet leaves Cape Town and heads into the brutal Southern Ocean. Neal must overcome his fear of dismasting and test his inner reserve of courage.